Welcome to Story Zest. Here you'll find fresh original tales written and narrated by me every Monday and Thursday. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these fictional journeys crafted just for you. As usual, we gathered around the table to discuss our monthly budget. After allocating funds for bills and essential expenses, Dan divided the remaining amount among the three of us. Be careful of how you spend this, he advised. It's not much, but it should be enough. Thanks, Dan. This is plenty, I replied. Joe, however, seemed troubled. He took a deep breath. His eyes filled with worry. A faint sigh escaped his lips before he could suppress it. What's wrong, Joe? Dan asked, concerned. Uh, I have a field trip this month, Joe explained, and the money I got won't cover the expenses. Without hesitation, Dan handed him his share of money. Here, take this. I'll figure something out. A vein throbbed in Joe's temple as he stared at the money. I can't take this, he snapped, his voice laced with anger and hurt. Taking a deep breath, he continued. Look, Dan, I need to work part-time. We can't just keep living like this. Emergencies happen and we need to be prepared. I hate feeling helpless. Dan smiled, but there was a hint of worry in his eyes. I understand, Joe, but I don't want your studies to suffer. I'll work extra hours if needed. Don't worry about it. Joe looked frustrated. You don't get it, Dan. I don't want you to work those extra hours. I'm not a kid. I'm 16 and I can work. I've made myself clear. Don't make me repeat it, Dan said firmly, leaving no room for further discussion. Joe slammed his fist on the table in frustration and stormed out of the room. I felt terrible for my brothers. Whenever a situation like this occurred, I couldn't help but think of my parents. 5 years ago, Dad left us for another woman, and a heartbroken mom did the same soon after, each with a new partner. At such young age, Dan, Joy, and I were on our own. Dan was 18 and about to leave for college on a scholarship. But he made a huge sacrifice. He stayed behind to raise us, juggling multiple odd jobs to keep food on the table and provide good education. Every time I thought about them, my blood boiled. How could they be so selfish, abandoning their own children? While my mother was posting glamorous photos of her travels with her new partner, we were struggling to make ends meet. Shh, seriously. Don't mind him, Dan. He's just being dramatic. Let's sit. He'll be back in 5 minutes. He can't stand being hungry, I said, trying to lighten up the mood. Dan smiled. You're right, Guy. Let's sit. I tossed and turned in the bed, unable to sleep. I kept checking the time, waiting for Joe to return. Finally, around 2 a.m., the idiot came home and ate dinner. Relieved, I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I woke up late. Panic set in me as I realized I was going to be late for my test. I rushed to get ready, skipping breakfast. Good morning, Kai. Breakfast is ready, Dan called out. Sorry, Dan, I'm late. I won't be able to eat, I shouted, rushing out the door. Wait, let me pack it for you then, Dan called after me. I'm fine, bye, I replied, hurrying away. I was worried that I'll be late. No one's allowed to enter the school after 9. It was already 8:45. Panic got the hold of me, so I ran fast. Every fiber of me dedicated to reaching school on time. But just then, I tripped over a rock and tumbled down. When I got up, I saw the worst. The tip of my shoe was torn clean off, revealing my whole toe. It was a disaster. For a moment, I wanted to run back home, but that would mean missing the test, and I couldn't afford that. At the same time, the thought of going to a school like this, with kids making fun of me, was almost as bad. Taking a deep breath, I steeled myself and decided to face it. Brushing off my discomfort, I sprinted and reached the school gate just a minute early. Sighing in relief, I went inside. I was heading towards the class, but in the hallway I could see girls staring at me. Did you see that? Her toe was peeping out of the shoes, they giggled. Shame burned my cheeks. I wished I was anywhere else but there. But I collected myself and walked on. Just then, cruel laughter filled the air. It was some boys from my class. Is it a symbol of poverty? One of the boys teased. That struck a nerve. I was about to retort when a voice intervened. Shut up, you fatso! That's a symbol of being physically active, which you never do. Just look at yourself. You're breathless just by laughing. Go do some physical exercise, alright? And that was my best friend, Rosie. The boys turned red and left. With a small smirk, Rosie shouldered past me down the hall. At that moment, I wasn't sure whether to thank her or be amazed. But one thing was certain, Rosie had just saved me from becoming hallway entertainment. It's always fun to be around her. She's amazing. We both first bonded in junior school when the teacher paired us for an inter-school competition, where I sang and she danced. That won our school the first prize. Over time, our bond only strengthened. Also, yeah, she has a huge crush on Dan, but Dan considers her his little sister. It's funny yet sad at the same time. After school, I went straight to buy a new pair of shoes. It felt bad because I was planning to give that money to Joe for his field trip, but I had no option but to use it. I was lost in thoughts on my way back home when I stumbled into my new neighbors. Hi, Aunt Julie. Hi, Uncle James. Hi, Kai. How have you been, sweetie? I'm doing great. How about you guys? Well, we are adapting, said Aunt Julie with a smile. Hey, Kai. It's already been a month now, yet I haven't had a chance to interact with other neighbors. But since I'm at least aware of you guys, do you know anyone who can babysit during weekends for 5 hours? Uh, I don't know, but let me get back to you if I find someone, Aunt Julie, I said. Hey, why don't you babysit our kid, Kai? Interrupted Uncle James. Me? Yeah, you're the best fit, I think. We trust you and you'll be paid as well. Isn't that a great idea? The idea was actually great. The opportunity was right next to our house. I could spare 5 hours. Dan would definitely allow if I insist, I thought. And the best thing, I would get paid. Yes, I'll do it, I replied excitedly. Are you sure, Kai? Asked Aunt Julie. Yes, I'm absolutely sure. I'll be there on time. Well, all right then, I'll be expecting you at 10 sharp, she said. Sure. Sunday morning, I woke up excitedly. Since money was crucial at the moment, I didn't want to miss any opportunities. I freshened up and rushed downstairs. Hey, what's the rush, Kai? Dan asked, looking puzzled. I've got a job today. I'll be babysitting Uncle James's kids for 5 hours. And guess what? He's promised to pay me, I said, beaming with a smile. What's the need for that? It's Sunday, don't go. We only have one day to spend together. Stay home. Let's watch movies and enjoy ourselves. I'll prepare something tasty, Dan suggested. Nah, I'm okay. And don't be dramatic. It's just 5 hours. Let's enjoy the movie in the evening. Let her go, Joy mumbled, yawning from behind. I would love some peace at home, he said. Oh, well then, it must be you who should leave the house, dumbass. Cut it out, both of you. Kai, breakfast is ready. Leave only when you're done. And you, skunk, go get freshened up first, Dan ordered sternly. Yes, boss. Sharp 10, I knocked at Uncle James's front door. Someone opened it. It was Aunt Julie. Hi, sweetie. Come in. I'll be leaving for an important event today. I'm handing these keys to you, all right? I'll be back in 5 hours, so I'm trusting you with the kids. Don't worry, Aunt Julie. I'll take a good care of them. Thanks, sweetie. Well, see ya then. Saying that, she left. Hey there! I bent towards and held the kid's hand. The twins were super cute. To my surprise, they were such peaceful kids. All I had to do was sit and supervise them. It was a bit boring though, but I was not going home back empty handed, so it's worth it. After 3 hours, there was a knock at the door. I went to see who it was, and to my surprise, it was Uncle James. Hi, Uncle James. Hi, Kai. How's it going? Are they troubling you? No, they're doing good, I replied with a smile. That's great, he said, placing his hand on my shoulder. I nodded, but there was a weird smile on his face, and his touch felt awkward. Let me get back to the kids, I said, pulling myself away. Yeah, sure, he mumbled. After some time, I was laughing and rolling on the floor with them. Suddenly, my eyes met Uncle James's. His stares were fixed on me. What the hell? I stood and fixed my shirt. I turned again to look at him, and there was a grin on his face. The air felt uncomfortable. I felt like running away. But only 1 hour was left for Aunt Julie to return. I couldn't let my hard work go in vain because of him. Uncle James, do you mind if I take these kids to the garden in their walkers? I'm sure they would enjoy the fresh air. Yeah, sure, he replied hesitantly. I hurriedly took the kids outside. It was a relief. I stood there relaxed, watching the kids enjoy the space. I ran and played with them for a few minutes. Then I sat down watching. Just then I felt someone's hand on my back. Startled, I turned around and was dumbfounded to see Uncle James. He grinned. Hey, is everything all right? I asked, standing up hurriedly. He said nothing, his fingers tracing a path down my neck. A shiver ran through me, not of cold, but of dread. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. Just when I thought I couldn't bear it any longer, a furious shout echoed from upstairs. It was Joey. He burst down the stairs, a whirlwind of fury. With a swift, powerful punch, he struck Uncle James, knocking him to the ground. "You pervert! How dare you touch my sister!" he roared, unleashing a flurry of punches. "Joe, stop!" I cried, panic rising within me. Just then Tan arrived, his face edged with confusion. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice laced with amusement. "This pervert did something to Kai!" Joe spat out, his eyes burning with rage. Dan's amusement vanished, replaced by a fury anger. He lunged forward, landing a powerful punch on Uncle James's face. The neighbors rushed in to pull them apart. The police arrived, their sirens wailing. Chaos reigned as they took statements and assessed the situation. I was worried about the kids, so I called Aunt Julie. She arrived soon after, her face pale and aged with worry. She apologized profusely for the ordeal, pressing the money into my hand. Despite my initial refusal, her eyes, filled with genuine remorse, compelled me to accept the offering. Back home, Tan and Joy awaited me, their faces aged with concern. "Are you okay?" Tan asked, his voice filled with concern. "Yeah, I'm alright," I replied, trying to sound composed. "Why did you go to that pervert's house in the first place?" Joey erupted, his anger palpable. "Are you mad? How was I supposed to know he was a creep?" I retorted, frustration building within me. "Guys, come down," Tan interjected, his voice steady. "Why do you need the money, Kai? I told you, I'm willing to work extra hours if it's important," Dan said, his voice serious. "This is why I won't let you work. Unless you become capable of standing on your feet, you are vulnerable to exploitation. The world is a harsh place, especially for young people like you." Joe and I listened quietly, taking in Tan's words. Deep down, we knew he was right. Being young and alone made us easy targets, especially in the neighborhood. While some neighbors were kind, others were not. Dan's protective instincts had always been strong, and Joy's impulsive nature often led him to act defensively. After the incident with Uncle James, they would undoubtedly become even more vigilant. One evening after school, I headed to Tan's workplace to talk to him. As I approached, I saw him talking to a girl. Their interaction seemed tense, and the girl's eyes were red and puffy. I hesitated, unsure if I should interrupt. Then Tan called out to me, "Hey Kai, what brings you here?" The girl looked up, her expression a mix of surprise and embarrassment. She quickly turned and left. "Uh, I just wanted to talk to you," I said, trying to act casual. "Sure, what's up?" he replied, his voice a bit strained. Remember Joey's field trip the day after tomorrow? I wanted to give him my share of the money you gave me. But I know he won't accept it, so could you give it to him instead?" Tan's expression softened. "Hey, Kai, you don't have to do that. I can handle it," he said gently. "No, please. It would mean a lot to me. Plus, I have enough money left." He knew what money I was referring to, but he didn't realize I was giving Joy a portion of it. Tan hesitated for a moment. "All right, fine," he said. "Tan, you don't have to worry about us too much, you know. I too don't want you to work extra hours. I want you to be there with us during that time." He smiled. "Come here," he said, pulling me into a warm hug. "Now go home, it's getting late." He slipped the money into his pocket and walked me to the gate. "Hey, Dan, who was that girl? Why was she crying? Did you do something to upset her?" I asked, curious. He seemed a bit nervous. "Oh, she's just a friend. She was upset about something. Don't worry about it. Now go home." I didn't believe his explanation, but I let it go. That evening I ran into her again at the bus stop. I couldn't help myself. "Hey, are you okay?" I asked. She looked surprised, then smiled. Hi, Kai. I know you, she said. I was taken aback. You do? How? I know everything about Dan, she replied with a smirk. It turned out she was Dan's friend, and she had had a crush on him for months, but he had consistently rejected her advances. I was shocked. Why would he reject such a beautiful girl? I exclaimed. She laughed. I don't think he finds me attractive. Otherwise, why would he keep turning me down? She said softly. There must be something wrong with him. Why would he reject such a beautiful girl? Maybe he's gay or something? I said, confused. What's your name, by the way? I'm Tanny, she replied with a smile. Oh, you two would be perfect together, I said. Maybe someday. I liked Tanny immediately. She was kind, funny, and beautiful. We exchanged social media information and promised to stay in touch. It had been a strange but wonderful day. Later that night, at dinner, Dan handed Joe the money, explaining that he had received generous tips from his restaurant's customer. Joe's face lit up. Thanks, man, he said, his voice filled with gratitude. No problem. Have fun, Dan replied, a warm smile on his face. Meanwhile, I couldn't resist the urge to intervene. Dan, are you into guys? I asked, my voice hesitant. Both Dan and Joe stared at me, their expressions a mix of shock and amusement. What? Dan exclaimed, his eyes wide. No, it's okay, you can tell me. I won't judge. I assured him, trying to sound casual. What kind of nonsense are you talking about, Kai? Of course I'm not gay. I'm straight. What gave you that idea? Dan asked, clearly bewildered. Sorry, I just thought, well, you rejected such a beautiful girl. I couldn't understand why. What? Who are you talking about? Dan exclaimed, his eyes wide. Danny, I blurted out. He was stunned. Who told you that? Danny herself, I replied, grinning. Hey, I'm here too, Joe interrupted. Why are you guys treating me like an outsider? Fill me in. What's going on? Who's Danny? Look, Kai, it's nothing. Just drop it, alright? Dan said, his voice sharp. No way, bro. You can't brush us off like that. You're always meddling in our business. So now it's your turn, Joe demanded. Dan sighed. There's nothing really going on. Don't lie. Danny said she's been in love with you for ages, but you've been ignoring her, I revealed. A blush crept across his face. What? Joe exclaimed, his eyes wide with excitement. Guys, please stop. Dan groaned, crossing his arms. It's not that simple. We're not compatible. She's not very practical and I can't afford her lifestyle. On top of that, her dad owns a restaurant where I work. It would be very awkward. So, do you mean you actually like her, but the circumstances are preventing you from being together? Joe asked, intrigued. I didn't say that, Dan mumbled, avoiding eye contact. All right, enough. Go to bed. It's late. Dan dismissed us, his voice firm. But I had a plan. I texted Tanny asking to meet. The next day after school, I came home with Rosie and spilled the beans about Dan and Tanny. Joe was there too, eager to hear the juicy details. What? How can you be so happy about this? Rosie exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. What about me? I've had a crush on Dan for years, and now you're telling me that he likes some random girl named Tanny? Seriously? I chuckled nervously. Look, Rosie. Before I could start, Joe interrupted. Oh, come on, Rosie. Let's be real. Dan's not gonna marry you. He doesn't see you that way. I'm a much better option. I would marry you in a heartbeat, he joked, a playful grin on his face. Yeah, right. Like I'd ever go for someone like you, Rosie retorted, a smirk playing on her lips. Ouch! That's harsh, Rosie, Joe teased, feigning hurt. Shut up, Rosie exclaimed, playfully hitting him with a book.